On this episode of the Carolina Sports Guy, we're going to dive into the Carolina Hurricanes, turning the page with the owners. Before we get into today's episode, if you haven't subscribed, please do so. It doesn't cost anything. Hit that bell notification to be notified of future videos like what's in today's video with the Carolina Hurricanes, future videos with the Carolina Panthers, Charlotte Hornets, and major college sports in the Carolinas. Give me some comments, folks. Pound the like button. All right, folks, it's kind of been in the news this week where Peter Karmanos is completely out of the NHL. Kind of got to give a heads up to the guy and appreciation. I know people in Hartford, Connecticut would like to run over him with a snow plow, and I understand why. They love their Whalers, and there's no doubt, and don't think we'll ever see a team in Hartford again. And the main reason, not a knock on Hartford, when you're surrounded by New York with the Rangers, the Islanders, the New Jersey Devils, and then Boston within like an hour and a half radius, it's just too much. And I know they supported and loved their franchise, and there was a small place in time for them, but they moved on to the Carolina Hurricanes. It's been almost 25 years. Get over yourself. But anyway, just kind of looking at things, though, that Karmanos bought the Hartford Whalers back in 1994. Now, Karmanos' history, grew up in the Detroit area, kind of made his living at a company called CompuWare, kind of got into junior hockey, was very big into Quebec junior leagues. He just had a lot of minor league interest, really just a very strong supporter of hockey. I mean, this guy's in the Hockey Hall of Fame. So he bought the Hartford Whalers in 1994. Now, it's kind of hard to say because he told the Whalers in the state of Connecticut, I plan on keeping the Whalers there. It's like a new arena. And as long as we get like a season ticket drive of more than 11,000, we'll be good to go. Well, this guy, he stuck around for basically 2 years, and he was gone. Now, many people in Hartford think it was a damaged sale of goods because he had the intention of moving once he got there. I don't know if that's the case. I think once he got there, he probably looked at them playing in a shopping mall and the fact that they were dragging their feet on building an arena, looking around what he had to compete with in the New York and Boston market. I think he just started to look around. And remember, this is also a period of time he was sitting in on the expansion meetings with Nashville and Columbus and just different places. And even the Raleigh-Durham area, Norfolk, Virginia, had kind of gotten some interest looking at getting into the NHL. And I think he started looking at some of the marketing concepts of some of these places. And that's what kind of intrigued him about the Raleigh area, moving to the Triangle in the Carolinas. So, the one thing you can say about Peter Karmanos, though, from his time in 1994 till he finally sold the rest of his ownership here in June of 2021, was that Karmanos is the only pro sports owner in the Carolinas to win a major championship for the Carolinas. So he's going to be known for that, and that's going to outdo Michael Jordan or Bob Johnson or George Sheehan or Jerry Richardson, David Tepper. He's going to be the one guy, and even Tom Dundon right now. This guy's won us a championship, and he got that in 2006 with the Stanley Cup win over Edmonton. Now, kind of moving on to Tom Dundon. He was looking for investors, and this was at the time then. One thing about Karmanos, God bless his heart, he tried to keep the team in Carolina, and he signed Ron Francis and brought some key players in, but he always was at the bottom of the barrel with revenue, and it had a lot to do with growing the sport in Carolina. Attendance was terrible at first. We didn't have a lot of major stars, and we were always going to be either out of the playoffs near the last in the whole league, or we were going to be just getting out of the playoffs or being barely in the playoffs. And it's kind of defeating when you're an upcoming franchise and you got fans that have a little to be excited about. But it does happen, and other markets have proven it can work. And the game has been growing thanks to Karmanos. But Tom Dundon comes in, and I believe the year was 2018. Tom Dundon buys a majority of the franchise from Peter Karmanos. And there was another investor at one time. I'm trying to remember what it was. The deal fell through, And I was really worried because it looked like the franchise might be sold, and people thought they were going to Quebec. Nothing against Quebec, but to me, Quebec's no different than Ottawa. Not that Ottawa doesn't deserve the Senators. I just think there might be better markets, not better hockey markets, but better overall TV and revenue-driven population markets. But remember, these Canadian cities might not be as big, but they are hockey fanatics. Okay, but places like Kansas City, and as well. So many people thought that the Hurricanes might be on the move. So Dundon comes in, and people right away are skeptical. Now, first we're going to look at the good of Tom Dundon. Tom Dundon comes in. He demoted Ron Francis from GM. That took a lot of balls, folks, because Francis has a good name in Carolina. He's in the North Carolina Hall of Fame, Sports Hall of Fame, because of hockey. He got us in the Stanley Cup the first time. Of course, he is that number 4 all-time leading assist guy, I believe, in NHL history because of his time in Hartford and in Pittsburgh before coming back to Carolina. So to demote him from GM, give him a role, player personnel, whatever he did, assistant vice president, whatever his role was. But then it wasn't long after that, I guess Dundon did not see eye to eye, and he just flat out got rid of Francis, cut him out of the franchise. We're going to see how that's going to work with Francis now being the GM in Seattle. If there's any ill will, bad blood, I'm glad he landed on his feet. But this expansion draft is going to be interesting because is Francis going to take a player and be friendly to us, or is he going to try to stab us in the back and take somebody he drafted and try to cripple us a little bit? We'll have to wait and see. But he did hire Don Waddell. And Don Waddell, was a GM for Atlanta when Atlanta struggled before they moved to Winnipeg. To me, has outdone Ron Francis. He's had better drafts, better trades, free agency. I think he's done an outstanding job what he's had to work with. So far, you got to give Tom Dundon credit on that. He also was the one that went with Waddell, and they promoted Rod Brind'amour as head coach. That's 3 stars, folks. That's outstanding. And just signing him to a new 3-year deal, Brind'amour's been a hell of a coach. And the one thing under Dundon you cannot say with the Panthers, with the Hornets, with the Hurricanes under Karmanos, is the Carolina Hurricanes have made the playoffs 3 years in a row. Now, I know there's an asterisk because the Panthers did win a division 3 years in a row. But it's kind of hard to keep that year in the middle when it was a losing season. These were 3 winning seasons that the Hurricanes had under Dundon. And the way things go, hopefully we don't take a dip. We'll be back as strong as ever for this 4th year under Dundon. Now, I want to kind of look at some of the things, because the attendance has definitely climbed under Dundon. Things have gotten better. As a matter of fact, before the COVID season hit, when we're in the middle and had to cancel the season and come back and play the playoffs late, we had like 8 home games left, and we were on the verge, and we were selling out. We were right in the playoff hunt. We ended up finishing, I want to say, like 6 or something like that in the playoffs, or whatever it was. But we could have probably climbed up to 4th or 5th. And with the 8 home games we had left and selling out, or at least 95% of us sell out in like 10 of the last 12 games, with 8 games to go, the Hurricanes would have shattered 17,000 plus in an 18,000 seat arena. It would have, that would have been the attendance. And we ended up like 16,900. But like I said, being short of those 8 games because of COVID, we couldn't reach that mark. And of course, this past season, COVID kind of limited the fan support. So the fans have coming back. I've seen a lot more people root for them and talk about them. It's in the communities, so that's great. Now we're going to get down to the negative. One thing that scared me with Tom Dundon was when he did go out and purchase the interest and was kind of like the main owner of struggling AAF, which was Alliance of American Football. And wasn't long after he had purchased that, within a few weeks to a month or so, he shut it down completely. Kind of pissed off the people that started it, left players with no money. Now, you would think that's a smart move by him because he saw it losing money and he didn't want to lose anymore. But then why did you go out and buy it? But could have been lied to, or maybe once he got in, he thought there was going to be more than what he did. And maybe he just said, man, I looked at this wrong. And got to give him credit. He just didn't sit there and flounder. He said, man, this is a dead fish. It stinks. I got to get out while I can. I looked at that, though, because it kind of took away some of his funding. And, as a Hurricanes owner, you want all you can have. Not that it really is going to affect him in that way. The second thing, and this was probably the biggest thing that really rubbed me wrong with Tom Dundon, and that's John Forslund. John Forslund was our play-by-play announcer for many years. He was play-by-play in Hartford. He's done some of the national broadcasts for NBC and NBC Sports Network. Great announcer. That's hockey, baby. Hey, what do you say? And we lost him. And I don't know how much the money was or what the agreement. It could be a back-end deal. I'm not in the meeting rooms. Maybe Forslund showed his hand. He says he didn't want to go nowhere, but maybe he knew that he could be the main guy with a national contract, and he kind of wanted to hamstring the Hurricanes a little and go more national. But I don't think it was, and I don't know if it was over the money. Dundon did get rid of Chuck Kaiton years ago, who was the radio announcer. That was more understandable. The radio was losing money. Chuck Kaiton had a great voice. And in bigger hockey markets, when you're growing the game, I don't even know if Seattle's going to have a hockey radio market, but in an area like Raleigh, it was losing more money than it was making. And you can just do the TV play through the radio, I guess. I miss having a guy like Kaiton because of his hockey knowledge. That was kind of an understandable move, but John Forslund wasn't, in my opinion. And, we did keep Trip Tracy, which is very important, keeping him around. And I'm not knocking Mike Maniscalco or whatever his name is as the play-by-play guy now, but he is no John Forslund. So I do wish Forslund all the best of luck with the Kraken, because they got a steal in that. Couple other things. I look early on at some of the trades. He did back it up with Aho when Montreal had the offer sheet and we matched it. I'm really going to be interested in this free agent all season what happens. But when he traded Elias Lindholm and Noah Hannafin to Calgary, they were coming up on contracts. And my first thinking was, he's got to pay somebody. He don't want to do it. He's being cheap. Lindholm had never really lived up to his billing. And Hannafin was like a number 5 overall pick. And he was good, but then again, he wasn't Pesci. He wasn't Slavin. Drafted some younger guys like Bean and Fleury, and just wasn't living up, and just did not see him getting the contract he deserved. And so we send him off to Calgary. In return, we get Michael Furlan. We get Dougie Hamilton, and we get this undrafted, a draft pick that Calgary had never signed in Adam Fox, a defenseman from Harvard. Now, as far as Furlan goes, stayed 1 year, looked really good, take my hat off to the guy, played outstanding. But after 1 year, we don't re-sign him. Now, he kind of got hurt a little bit. Was he worth re-signing? I don't know. He went to Vancouver, had some concussions. I think he's in the minors now, trying to work his way back up. So I can't say that was a big deal. But when you consider that Furlan lost after 1 year, Lindholm and Hamilton both got extensions with Calgary. Hannafin got one. I don't know if it's well-deserved. I don't think what he wanted to get paid we would have paid, but Calgary's giving him a shot. Now, Lindholm actually cracked out of a slump, outperformed what he did in Carolina and Calgary, deserved the raise, and he got it. And I'm thinking we're so deep there, it doesn't hurt us as bad, but it does make us look bad when we look like we're being on the cheap and then re-sign him, send him to Calgary, he blossoms, they re-sign him long term. They kind of won on that deal. Now we get Dougie Hamilton. And out of all these pieces, Dougie Hamilton has been the most impressive. Here's a guy that makes second team all NHL playing defense. Second team is very crucial, very important. The guy's very good. Could have won the Norris Trophy, I believe. He's just good. And if he went and broke his leg last year, that kind of hurt us in our playoff run. Just did an outstanding job. And it looks like we might lose him this year. But if it's going to command more money than Slavin and more than Pesci, especially, more than Slavin, it's not warranted that, folks. It's going to cost us money. We're going to lose other players. Now, if he's willing to take a team-friendly deal, that's understandable. But I just hate seeing Dundon get all these players that come in, and then when their contract comes due, he closes his wallet and we lose them for either nothing And I can look at Jeff Skinner as well. Now, I kind of understand the Jeff Skinner deal. He wanted to be paid well, and I was really upset and mad when we let him go to Buffalo for Cliff Pugh, who didn't even have a cup of coffee with us in a draft pick. Thought we got screwed. But Buffalo turns around and signs a guy to a long-term deal, and Buffalo's, they hate it now. They are like so sorry they did it. And Skinner, his best days were with us. He did have that one great year in Buffalo, but I think Dundon made the right call on that deal, looking back on it now. But Hamilton, we lose him, man, that's going to suck. Because then that means we gave away 2 guys to Calgary, and they've got extensions with them. We bring in Forslund, keep him 4 years like O'Reilly's done. Hamilton was good for 2 or 3 years here. Now he could be done. If we could re-sign Hamilton to a good deal and he stays, then maybe we win the deal. But if not, it's going to look like Calgary won this deal. Adam Fox, this is the one that pisses me off. Calgary wasn't going to sign him and keep him. Maybe that helped sweeten the pot. And, man, the guy is an awesome player. We had to trade him to the Rangers. Now, Adam Fox ends up winning Norris Trophy winners, great defenseman, probably the first-team defensive player. The guy's incredible. And I know it's gnashing anger that we lost this guy. And he only wanted to play for New York. And I don't know if maybe he got signed by New Jersey or the Islanders or someone like Pittsburgh or Boston signed him to win. And I just wouldn't have traded him away to the Rangers. But the players we got for him, we drafted a second or third round pick. We got Jamison Rees, who's an upcoming rookie. He could work out, but he's not going to be an Adam Fox. And we got Anthony Honka, another young developing talent. He's not going to be Adam Fox. And Noel Gunler. He's not going to be Adam Fox. Now, if 2 of those 3 guys develop and make our roster and could stick around a few years, it'll take lessen some of the blame. But if Adam Fox goes on and keep playing for the Rangers to be in all-star games and leading them to the playoffs and ends up just being this force, man, we hate it. Because if we'd have kept Adam Fox with Hamilton, and Slavin, and Pesci, we would have been so deep. So deep. Not to mention Bean. Man. But that's the thing that sucks. That's the thing that really sucks. Now, the other thing that I'm putting an X by, and this is the thing I'm keeping my mind on, Tom Dundon. You started Top Golf. You live in Dallas, Texas. You're a Texas guy. You went to SMU. But the one thing about it is Carolina's doing well. Attendants are doing well. If you get cheap, don't bring in players, and you more or less start losing, and we don't retain our talent, and we start dipping and staying down for a while, and you don't keep this train running, and the fans start staying away, my fear is you'll try to move this franchise, because you know that Houston, in your home state of Texas, is very well capable of getting an NHL team. They had the WHA Arrows. And I wish the NHL would expand to 34, because I think Houston deserves a team. And if Ottawa's not going to move, and let's face it, if Ottawa doesn't move, who's going to move? Because I don't think the NHL wants the Arizona Coyotes to move, although that makes the most sense. But I think they really want to stay in the desert and develop rivalries. But if it's not someone like Ottawa, and you don't have anyone else, with the Islanders getting a new arena, you only have an option of leaving Houston open by the NHL as a method of forcing other teams to build new arenas, scaring them that their team might move to Houston. That's my biggest fear, that Dundon will move our team to Houston, and not in the next 2 or 3 years, but 5, 6, 7 years down the road, and I hope not. I want him to stay in Carolina forever. And I look at the 2 markets that deserve hockey. Houston's one, Atlanta's another. Now, Atlanta not as much because they've lost 2 franchises. Second time, they really weren't given the opportunity as much, and I just think they've had bad luck. But it is a good hockey market. That's why I'd like to see 34 teams with Houston in the West and Atlanta in the East, but too much watered down. But anyway, that's where I stand with this, folks. What do you think on this video? Leave me some comments. Hit the bell notification to be notified of future videos like these. Smash that like button. And by all means, folks, subscribe. It doesn't cost anything. And we'll see you on another episode. Carolina Sports Guy.